prominent in our community. One of the things that we found most prominent was problems within the classroom. So for example, when we walked into our AP Computer classroom, we would see that there are 10 boys to every 1 girl that's in the classroom in general. So as a result, we decided to start Florida STEM. And Florida STEM was founded in January of 2015. And what we aim to do is typically just target low-income students with low-income backgrounds and expose them to these STEM resources and allow them to get a chance to see more into the STEM background that they wouldn't otherwise have access to if they didn't have access to Florida STEM.
And we've been doing Florida STEM for about 2 years now, since January of 2015. And what we've seen is that there's this divide between STEM teachers and STEM mentors and volunteers who are willing to help. There's this lack of communication that often prevents the STEM teachers from getting that help they need in teaching those or bringing in demonstration opportunities. And we wanted to build an app, a mobile extension to our FLA STEM outreach program that would better connect these target groups as well as provide extra features for them.
Originally, we came to this competition with an idea called VOL. VOL was virtual online learning environments, which would be a place to share resources for virtual reality learning. But in working with teachers and working with mentors, we figured out that that isn't very accessible to a lot of students, which is the main goal of both STEMLINK and FLA STEM. So in keeping the main core functionality of a marketplace for resources, we pivoted to STEMLINK, which is an app in order to share between mentors and resources and teachers.
So obviously there were some challenges involved with this pivot from VOL to STEMLINK. One of those challenges was that our group didn't have as much experience with mobile application development as we did with web development. So that was something that we were going to have to tackle if we wanted to move forward with this transition. So that was one of the main challenges. One of the other main challenges was deciding which platform we wanted to design STEMLINK on, because obviously there's Windows phones, there's Android phones, and there's iPhones. And that was something we were going to have to decide, and it was going to have to be another consideration in our project that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So overall, the transition, we accomplished it because we had the same set of core ideals on what we wanted to accomplish, but there were also factors like the difficulty of moving to mobile application development as opposed to web development, where there's things like drag and drop website designers like Wix and those types of things that make it a bit easier, plus we had that experience with that. So overall, the challenges of pivoting were existent, but we think we've overcome them pretty successfully.
Another challenge that we ran head on once we made that transition from website to app is with website, as Michael previously said, there are resources like Wix and Weebly, which is all online, and it allows you to work together. So one student, one member from our team could be in one place, and we could be in another place, and we could be collaborating at the same time. With Android Studio and our mobile extension, that was a bit more difficult because there aren't those commercial services that allow you to work on the project at the same time. So we had to learn Git and use it on GitHub to really collaborate and use it efficiently within our project.
So originally, to design the app, we used something called paper prototyping. It's an app. It allowed us to sketch out a design, like simple screens for our app, and then using this paper prototyping, we were able to take a picture of those drawings we made and actually give it functionality, meaning we could make virtual buttons for it. So you click something on the screen and it would take you to a different page. This is a really good way to get our ideas down on paper and figure out what we want the app to kind of look like. And then from there, I was able to make mock-ups, really rough mock-ups in Photoshop, which we put into an Android program, and Nikhil then gave those just blank pictures we created some functionality, so we could get an idea of what we wanted the app to look like in the end.
So in the end, we decided to develop STEMLINK using Android Studio for several reasons, one of which being that we found that Android had the largest market share amongst those users that we wanted to target, and overall. So that was one of the decisions we decided to go with Android. And we also decided to go with Android just because we found it would be easier to port that over to the other operating systems in the future, as opposed to porting from iOS to Android Studio or porting from Windows to Android. So that's why we decided to start off with Android.
And as there's a little video of our app running, I'll give a little bit of technical details. So Android Studio is a lot like a soda machine. You have the front of the soda machine where you have the different buttons for what type of soda you want, and then there's the actual process of getting soda. Similarly, in Android Studio, there's the front screen which the user sees and it can interact with, press various buttons, put input as you see there, and then there's the back end, which is handled by Java and our Google Firebase API as well. So similarly to a soda machine where you press the button and the soda comes out, here the front end is all handled using XML code designed and built within Android Studio, and all the handling of the buttons are handled through our Java code. And we initially developed our front end using Photoshop, as Daniel mentioned before. And we initially developed it using Photoshop, and then what we found is when we switched from Photoshop to Android Studio, we wanted that dynamic design of users being able to press the button and really see it being highlighted when we press it, and that wasn't something that we found with Photoshop.
So as you can see on the right, we have the first static UI we created, which is just a blank Photoshop PNG we created, and then on top of that we layered functionality. But like Nikhil said, that doesn't really work for an app because you don't get the satisfaction of seeing a color change when you hit a button. There's no animations that go along with that, and it can be generally slow. So what we did was we converted those basic images we made in Photoshop into Adobe Illustrator document, which allows you to make vector files. And then Nikhil was able to take those vector files as individual pieces and put them into Android Studio. And that allowed us to make individual components of the app a lot more dynamic and a lot more easy, or a lot easier to use, and just feels a lot better when using the app, because everything reacts to one another, making it a lot cleaner, and we think it looks a lot better than it did to start.
So to talk a little bit about our marketing, initially what we started to do is, because there's no other program like Florida STEM within Pinellas County or even within most of Florida, we don't really have a lot of competition within any type of STEM, other STEM program. In addition, no one has created an app with a marketplace like we have before, so we don't necessarily need to compete with other resources or other people like Girls Who Code in order to achieve and target as many people as possible. The other thing that we do is, because we do a lot of hackathons and other events through Florida STEM, as you can see through these pictures, we're able to tell them about the app and tell them about things that are going on through word of mouth. Now, what we've also considered is either buying advertisements in magazines, but we feel as though to target as many people as possible and to spread the word quickly, we feel as though word of mouth would work much better than other programs would. So here we have an example of what we asked some teachers about what exactly would benefit them and what they were looking for in STEM mentors, and exactly what they would need and the resources that they needed and have access to. One of the most important ones is what features they would like within the program, and here we can see how that's broken down. So as you can see, actually being able to have a teacher and mentor and communicate between them, which is the problem that we noted is the largest chunk of the entire pie graph. Around 40% of all people responded that they would like that to happen. And the largest other ones that you can see are the resources that you need, the STEM events, the purchasing of kits, and also the videos and streaming that we would offer through the same platform.
Similarly to how we did develop those questions for teachers, and we asked those questions when we were doing FLA STEM events like a hackathon or workshops where we interacted with teachers and students, we also developed a similar set of questions for mentors and volunteers, another key chunk of our target audience. And another key question we had were, do you know of any of your peers who would like to get in touch with schools, teachers, but simply find themselves unavailable or do not know how to start? And we asked this question to see if that divide does exist. Initially, we hypothesized that the divide is over the 2 years of us doing FLA STEM activities. We thought that there were a lot of mentors who wanted to help, but they just didn't know how to get in touch. So we wanted to get physical data to show if this is a phenomenon. And what we saw is we polled 20 mentors at a workshop, and we saw that around 13 of them did say that they did know of peers that would want to help within schools, but that just did not know who to get in touch with and didn't know of any like efficient or safe communication method. And so we based our marketplace off this data, which showed that there is a need for this marketplace capacity.
So one problem that I touched on earlier in making the app was that when we made the Photoshop PNGs, they were really high quality files because we wanted the app to look good. We didn't want pixelation. But having just a big PNG stuck there with functionality on top really lagged the app a lot. And so it made it almost unusable for a user. You click something and you wait like 5 seconds and you go. So by converting those to those vector files and making the dynamic UI, it made the app a lot more usable and a lot easier and friendlier to use for anyone that's trying to access the marketplace.
Another one of the challenges we faced is the transition from VOL over to STEMLINK. And like I said, there were some challenges associated with that in and of itself, but that transition also ate up an amount of time that we could have used to further improve our application or add additional functionalities. So although we had our same core message or same idea between both programs we were developing, there was some time that was put into transitioning and building new documentation and building new plans that otherwise ate up otherwise usable time.
Another problem that we encountered was implementing the marketplace. We wanted to make sure that not just anyone could go on and get contact information for teachers or mentors. So we wanted to make sure that there was safety and efficiency in this communication method. And so what we ended up doing actually is within the marketplace, and you'll see this when at the end of the presentation, you'll see when mentors and teachers go on the marketplace, they can either choose to post the app-wide offer, which anyone on the app can see once they're verified, or they can choose to just look at see all offers, and they can choose to individually contact the teacher or the mentor who's posting their offer. So that way, in case a teacher or a mentor doesn't want to post their contact information, they can just see all offers and they can individually contact one person rather than putting their contact information displayed app-wide. Another hesitation we ran into was documenting initially. We saw that there was a lot of passion towards actually programming, but documenting also we stumbled behind. But what we saw is when we were shifting from VOL to STEMLINK, we had that struggle of transitioning, but our project charter in which we detailed what our project's ideas were, we really used that to build from VOL to STEMLINK, and that project charter really ended up helping us out from that transition. Now, in the future of STEMLINK, we have 3 key points left. One of them is to ensure that the database testing, Google Firebase, we want to make sure that the user data is scalable from just 10, 20 users to 100, 200 users. And we also want to make sure that it's secure and reliable.
We'd also like to add video streaming or media storage capabilities to our application to allow users to share images or videos of their events to generate interest in potential further events that they might hold, or finding mentors to work at those in the future. And that, with that, of course, comes some content screenings to ensure that no inappropriate content is getting into our application, or things that would turn off users from returning to the application. So that's something we want to implement in the future.
And then finally, we see STEMLINK not as just something that we're really passionate about and helping in STEM, but we see the whole ecosystem that we've created, this marketplace style, as something that can help many people in finding any resources in whatever they're interested in. So runners, they're trying to find races but can't really figure out where to go because everyone has different websites. This ecosystem can be implemented in so many different ways and for so many different people that STEMLINK is really just a proof of concept, and we see it being very scalable to multiple applications in the future. And so while we have a little more time, we'd like to go back and highlight some of the features of our marketplace in the app. I believe we have a video running. And so the marketplace is really just a place for a mentor to say, hey, I know robotics, I'd really like to help out with robotics, how can I help? So they would post that as almost an ad on our marketplace, and then teachers would be able to see that and then automatically respond to that. All they have to do is click respond, and they'll send the mentor in question an email from that teacher. And then from there, now that they're in contact, they'll be able to go through the proper channels to the proper schools, and because proper channels, proper schools will allow them to meet and then have workshops and share resources at the schools. So it's really connecting people that wouldn't necessarily meet in a way that helps grow STEM education.
Are they able to converse back and forth?
Yep. Once you get in touch with them, you can hit contact mentor, and it'll pull up the email, and you can converse back and forth through email or through our app itself. So right through here, our home screen, marketplace, you can choose to post something right here. So you could put like test and then add offer, and you can test it down here. Or you can choose to see other offers.
Yeah, I think that's it. So that's our app.
And
That's
you can choose
So
the
all you
product
have
that
is
you
that
can
insertion
virtually.
question?
yes.
Okay. So I have 2. Are there any concerns for, so you say mentors and students can talk directly through your app. Going through the competition, right? The school has very strict rules on how you communicate. Basecamp has to be covered. How is that addressed within your app?
There are actually different roles in the app. So mentors can only talk to teachers through email. Students aren't allowed to have any conversation with teachers or mentors. They can only see the resources that have been posted. The marketplace is only available to the teachers and the mentors. and they contact through email. But then from that initial contact, they must go through the proper channels before they can be actually running these workshops in the schools.
And we're also going to build in a verification system so that when you do sign up, initially when you're just signed up and unverified, you can still see all the resources, but you're not allowed to actually get in touch. Once you do provide some sort of verification, whether that is your school ID or some other appropriate measure, then you can be given access to full features, including that marketplace where you can see the contact information.
Cool. And then you said you see the scaling to other applications like runners looking for groups, whatever. Do you see it in this app, or do you see other apps that leverage the same technology?
We see it in this one specifically because the way that we use and implement the marketplace is different and unique from the way other apps may do it. For example, other apps that you might see, for example, if we were using a runner app, we'll just post the event without necessarily being able to contact someone directly through the app itself. You'd have to either email someone on something that might be outdated, whereas our app is guaranteed to both update information automatically, depending on when someone submits things, because they need to do that in order to be verified in the first place, and are able to dynamically kind of interact with the other person as well.
But do you think mixing the two genres of stuff is
Yeah,
going to be values?
to add on to that, it would be the ecosystem we've created in a separate app. So you could have STEMLINK and then RunnerLink, but the it would be our specific ecosystem in each of these separate apps.
And it's built, what you're saying, it's built so it could be configured
Yes,
to different genres.
it's built off this specific app, but they would be separate for each.
It's just a model for the overall.
We foresee different charities or different organizations maybe developing their own apps, or us licensing that to them to help build their volunteer base and things like that, and maybe having an overall general network application that we might use as well.
So the brand of the app becomes Link. So put whatever in front of it you want. It uses this community-driven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do the events actually get pulled into there?
So the events in these you can go in, teachers and mentors can go in and they can add the events within the app. So there's an actual way for them to go through.
But is it
That's
manual
what you
or
can
is
see
there a
on
way
the-
to
There,
feed in?
it's manual currently, but what we're doing is we're working with Portal to pull through from Portal. So you can, right now you can go through here and you can manually add it, but we're also working to implement this within Teachers Focus or other external applications so that they could add it in one place, like the Portal calendar, and it'd be pulled in here and it could display
Okay.
here.
And all these events draw directly from Firebase, which makes it really easy to quickly update and quickly pull in from multiple resources, like Nikhil said, into our app and into the
And so
events.
then once that's in there and you pull it, you can export it to your own calendar?
Yep.
Okay.
And how are you going to make money? How are you going to be able to sell this?
The app? We'll initially plan on making the app free of charge just to get that word of mouth advertisement off, but later in the game, as Michael was saying earlier, we could license it off under that link category and have it, as well as have advertisers advertise through our app, so local businesses could put up an advertisement and come up on the screen for 5, 10, 15 seconds, and you can choose the duration.
For STEMLINK specifically, because the parent company oversees the 501c that oversees it is Florida STEM, we could file in a way that the advertisement would go directly toward our profits, and we wouldn't have to be taxed for that because we're a nonprofit.
Thanks so much. Great job, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.